Raise your hand if you're a perfectionist. Now keep that hand up in the air if your inner perfectionist is perhaps the creativity police, stopping you from even beginning, let alone finishing creative projects or sharing your work with others. Hands still in the air? Fantastic. Today, we're going to learn how to outsmart your inner perfectionist so you can create something every day without fear. Are you ready? Let's go. When it comes to perfectionism, I can say I have battled with this trait for years. At one point in time, I actually thought it was something to be proud of, something to wear like a badge of honor. However, as I've matured, I've come to realize that being a perfectionist has never served me, especially creatively. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that perfectionism is the creativity killer. You see, the problem with perfectionism is that it strangles the life out of creativity by imposing an unattainable standard. Driven by fear, it hinders the creative process by stomping out experimentation, exploration, and the natural flow of ideas. This fear then acts like an anchor, keeping you creatively stuck and stagnant, meaning you struggle to start creative projects, finish them, or share them with the rest of the world. The reason this matters is that it's essentially the onset of creative block, or an indicator that you're waist deep in it. So how do we address this and get you back to creating freely every day without this fear? Well, in order to do so, we need to consider the following 3 things. What is the creative process? Trust me, this is actually quite important. Where does perfectionism trip you up in that process? And the secret to outsmarting your perfectionism. So, let's take a look at what is the creative process. If we're working with the premise that creativity is the ability to bring something new into existence through the connection of existing and/or new ideas, then it's clear that a process is involved. After all, you can't bring something new into existence, whether it's a painting, a drawing, a story, or a crochet blanket, without a process. So what is this process? Well, in all my years as an artist, I believe it looks like this. Digging deeper into this, I believe the creative process is everything that happens from the inception of an idea before it can become a finished product. This journey requires exploring how this idea will come into existence, experimenting with different mediums, methods, and techniques, learning or honing the skills needed, acquiring feedback on what is or isn't working, and refining the product before calling it finished. This process is inherently messy and full of unknowns and requires surrendering ourselves to it. In fact, I believe that the only way through this process is to be led along by curiosity. Approaching this process with a perfectionistic mindset, on the other hand, will ensure the opposite outcome. You'll be driven by fear or, worse, paralyzed by it. So, let's pinpoint the exact stages within this creative process where you're most vulnerable to this happening. If we assume that perfectionism is a refusal to accept any standard short of perfection, it's safe to say that it's a loyalty to a standard driven by fear. Perfectionism fixates on the end result rather than valuing the journey or the process. This result-driven focus comes at the cost of the journey through exploration, experimentation, learning, feedback, refinement, and so on. In doing so, perfectionism short-circuits your growth. You can never grow without making mistakes, and you can never be creative if you skip the experimentation that fosters this thinking. Although perfectionism can trip you up at any stage of the creative process, I believe there are 3 key points where it can be particularly detrimental. The first place is here, at the very beginning of the creative process before you even begin exploring your idea. Perfectionism wants you to skip and circumvent all the messy stuff between the inception of an idea and the finished product. In other words, the place where all the learning and exploration happens. It wants to reach a perfect finished product without doing the hard work, At this stage, the person struggling with perfectionism might even argue that there's no use in trying because it won't be any good. The second place is here. Upon beginning your creative exploration and experimentation, perfectionism drives you to control things, causing you to focus on the minutiae and follow rigid and flexible processes. This can cause you to fixate on an unattainable standard and prevent you from discovering and trying new things. As a result, you may stop exploring, experimenting, and thinking creatively. Even if you reach a final product, the process may have been unpleasant, or you may even give up on the project due to exhaustion and frustration. The third place perfectionism shows up in the creative process is here. At the refinement stage of a project or idea, perfectionism can drive you to continually refine, tweak, and adjust, never coming to an outcome. In my experience, this can happen for two reasons. You may want to avoid calling it finished and confront a final product that doesn't meet your high standards. Or you may be afraid to put the final product out into the world and face criticism or judgment. In either case, perfectionism prevents the completion of the project or idea. Now that we know exactly where perfectionism trips you up, it's time to learn how to outsmart it. The reality is, if you're a perfectionist, it might be something you have to deal with for the rest of your life. That's why it's crucial to learn to outsmart it. You can achieve this in 3 ways. Accept that the creative process is going to feel uncomfortable. Following that, you need to embrace small steps of imperfect and uncomfortable action to help you navigate the creative process. And finally, you may need to recognize your limitations and practice patience with yourself. Let's look at each one of these in a little bit more detail. When embracing discomfort, it's important to understand that the creative process is inherently uncomfortable. Creative endeavors often lead to uncharted territory and require taking risks. It's perfectly normal to feel uneasy, uncertain, and vulnerable during the process. Accepting this discomfort as a natural part of creativity can help you overcome your perfectionism. Here's what I like to repeat to myself when I'm feeling particularly uncomfortable. Lean into the unfamiliar until it becomes familiar. When trying to move through this uncomfortable creative process, it's crucial that you swiftly take small, imperfect, and uncomfortable steps of action to move forward. Perfectionism often paralyzes individuals because they're afraid of making mistakes or producing anything less than perfect. By taking small steps, even if they are imperfect, you learn, grow, and progress in your creative journey. It's through these imperfect actions that you discover new ideas and refine your skills. Finally, when you're coming to the end of the creative process on any given project, it's important you recognize your limitations and accept them without self-criticism. Perfectionism often arises from unrealistic expectations about yourself and abilities. Acknowledging that you have limitations in your skill set, handling of medium, and executing that doesn't mean you can't improve or evolve. It just means you're still growing. Be patient with yourself and understand that growth takes time. So let's sum up what we've learned. Perfectionism only ever hinders the creative process. It does this by preventing you from starting a creative task, stifling exploration and experimentation during the process, or completing the task and sharing the final result. To combat this, you need to embrace the discomfort you experience during the creative process, take small steps of imperfect action, and acknowledge your limitations while practicing patience with yourself. If you're looking to dive deeper into the exact process for this, I have a special download just for you. This free PDF workbook, complete with a detailed breakdown of everything we learned today, plus quick and easy worksheets, will guide you in conquering your perfectionism so you can get back to creating every single day without fear. Unlock access to this and other free resources by joining the Creativity Cafe, your ultimate one-stop creative hub. Gain exclusive access to video tutorials, downloadable PDFs, workbooks, exercise sheets, insider sketchbook tips, and exclusive discount codes for all my current and upcoming online workshops. Sign up is free forever, granting you instant access to all resources now and any I upload in the future. The link is right in the video description below. Alternatively, if you found this video helpful, I'd love to hear all about it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of my future content. That's all from me today. Stay happy, stay creative.